I never thought a single day could change my entire life until the moment I saw my CEO collapse right in front of me. The conference room was packed, bright lights beaming down on us like we were about to make history. I was sitting there, heart pounding, rehearsing my presentation in my head, when suddenly everything turned upside down. It started with a slight stumble. His hand reached for the table, fingers trembling. The room went silent. And then he just dropped, flat on the floor. People screamed. Phones whipped out to call for help. I froze, unable to move or even scream myself. My mind raced. Is he going to be okay? What just happened? They rushed him out on a stretcher, leaving chaos behind. But the strangest part? Among the scattered papers on the floor, I noticed a single envelope addressed to me, his name scrawled in sharp, confident handwriting. Confused, I picked it up, hands shaking. Inside was a letter, the kind you only expect to read in movies or hear about in stories. A will, and not just any will. It said he was leaving everything to me. Everything. I barely knew him. He was my CEO, a man I admired from a distance. We barely spoke beyond formal greetings. So why me? Why now? My chest tightened. This wasn't just about money or business. It felt like the beginning of something dark, something I wasn't prepared for. As the paramedics wheeled him away, I couldn't stop staring at that letter, the weight of it pressing down on my soul. I thought my life was ordinary, predictable. I thought I had time to figure out who I was and what I wanted. But now, everything was shattered. And the truth behind that will? It was about to tear my world apart. For as long as I can remember, I believed I was living a quiet, simple life. Nothing fancy, nothing extraordinary, just me, working my way through the daily grind, dreaming of a future that felt steady and safe. My name is Ayesha, and I've always been the kind of person who prefers to stay in the background, unnoticed but reliable. People say I'm loyal, kind-hearted, maybe a little too trusting. But those qualities, well, they're about to be tested like never before. I work as an executive assistant at a high-profile company in the city. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills, and I've grown comfortable there over the past 4 years. I'm the one who keeps everything organized, the one who remembers the CEO's coffee order, the one who smooths out the wrinkles in tense meetings with a smile. The office buzzes with ambition and power, but I like to think of myself as the quiet thread holding it all together. The CEO, Mr. Kamran Malik, is a man people either love or fear. He's sharp, commanding, and a bit of a mystery to most. I'd never worked for someone like him before. He's demanding but fair, and surprisingly, he's never been unkind to me. I've admired his work ethic, his vision, maybe even a little bit of his ruthless edge. But Kamran kept his distance, a wall of professionalism between us. I respected that boundary. After all, what could an assistant possibly mean to the CEO? Outside of work, my life was simple too. My parents live at a small town. They're the kind of people who send me care packages filled with homemade snacks and remind me to eat properly. My younger brother Sami is a university student, always cracking jokes, keeping the family laughter alive even when things get tough. My closest friend Zara is my rock. She's fiery and bold, the complete opposite of me, and I love her for it. We share everything from late-night talks about dreams to the secret fears we never voice aloud. Romantically? That chapter of my life was closed door, so I thought. I hadn't been in a serious relationship for years. After a string of failed attempts and heartbreaks, I swore off dating. Love seemed like a dangerous gamble I wasn't ready to take again. I buried myself in work, in family, and in the quiet comfort of routine. But then Kamran Malik collapsed in the middle of that meeting, and everything changed. There was something about that moment that made me look at him differently. Not just the man who signs the paychecks, but a person fragile, vulnerable, mortal. And when I found that letter the will addressed to me, I realized our lives were about to become entangled in ways I never imagined. I keep replaying the moments before his collapse. How he seemed distant, distracted. How I caught him staring out the window with a look I couldn't place. Was it regret? Fear? Or something darker? At the office, people whispered. Rumors spread fast. Some thought Kamran had enemies, maybe rivals in the cutthroat business world. Others guessed it was a health scare, a heart attack perhaps. But no one knew the truth. Not yet. What I do know is that suddenly, I'm at the center of a storm I never asked for. Suddenly, Kamran Malik isn't just my CEO, he's a man who's handed me a secret inheritance. A secret that could change everything about my future. But also, a secret that could destroy me. I still remember the first time I saw him up close in the hospital pale, hooked up to machines, his usual commanding presence replaced by a fragile silence. I wanted to speak, to ask him why me, why now, but the doctor said he needed rest. The letter was the only clue he left behind. And then there's the people around him, the mysterious business partners, the sharp lawyers, even his estranged family, each one watching me like I was an intruder in their world. Their eyes question me. Their words drip with suspicion. It's like stepping into a novel where I'm the unexpected protagonist, thrown into a plot I don't understand but can't escape. Through it all, I keep wondering, who is Kamran Malik beneath the polished suits and the steel gaze? What secrets did he bury? And why did he choose me, an ordinary woman, a quiet assistant, to inherit everything? I'm about to find out. Days after Kamran's collapse, I thought I could breathe again. The initial chaos had settled into a tense stillness. I was still grappling with the shock of the will, the strange responsibility thrust on me, and the unnerving feeling that I'd just stepped into a world I didn't belong to. But then, the first crack appeared. It was late one evening. I had stayed back at the office, sorting through some files Kamran's assistant handed me before she left. The building was almost empty, the hum of the air conditioner and distant city noises the only background sounds. My phone buzzed, suddenly, a message from an unknown number. I hesitated before opening it. The message was a photo and image of Kamran. He was at a cafe downtown, but he wasn't alone. A woman sat beside him, laughing softly as they shared a private conversation. It wasn't the smile of a casual friend or colleague. It was intimate. Too intimate. My heart sank. Who was she? I had never seen Kamran with anyone outside the office. Certainly no woman who looked this close to him. The image felt like a punch to the gut. I stared at my phone, my mind racing. Was this the secret he was hiding? Was this woman the reason behind his sudden collapse? The letter? The will, were they connected? The next morning, I couldn't stop thinking about the photo. I debated whether I should confront Kamran when he recovered or if I should keep this to myself. But the truth gnawed at me like a persistent shadow. Then, things got worse. That afternoon, I was walking down the hallway when I overheard voices behind the conference room door. Curious, I stopped and listened. "She can't know everything yet," said a sharp, cold voice. It was one of Kamran's lawyers. I recognized him from a few meetings. "We have to keep her in the dark for now. She's unstable," another voice added. Unstable? Me? My chest tightened. I wanted to burst in, demand answers. But instead, I stayed silent, feeling more isolated than ever. Later that evening, I received an anonymous email. No sender's name, just a message. "Not everything is as it seems. Trust no one." My hands trembled. I was trapped in a web I didn't understand, surrounded by secrets and lies. I couldn't tell who was friend or foe anymore. At work, the atmosphere shifted. People who once smiled politely now gave me cold stares or whispered behind my back. Rumors swirled. Some said I was after Kamran's fortune. Others whispered about hidden scandals. One evening, while clearing my desk, I found a file hidden beneath a stack of papers. It was labeled "Confidential, do not open." My curiosity won. Inside were documents, financial records, cryptic notes, and references to a mysterious project Kamran had been working on. The project seemed important, something that could change everything. But there was no explanation, no context. Was this what the will was really about? Was Kamran's collapse linked to this secret? That night, I couldn't sleep. Every sound in my apartment felt amplified. every shadow a threat. I kept thinking about Kamran's collapse, the woman in the photo, the lawyer's whispers, and the hidden files. Who was I really dealing with? I realized then that this wasn't just about inheritance or a business legacy. This was a dangerous game, and I had just been made a player without a choice. I couldn't shake the image from my mind, the woman laughing with Kamran, their easy intimacy frozen in that one photograph. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, heard the faint echo of her laughter. Was I imagining things? Was I twisting innocent moments into something sinister? Part of me desperately wanted to believe it was a misunderstanding, a casual friend, a harmless colleague, someone unimportant. But my gut screamed otherwise. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, the letter from Kamran lying unopened on the table. I kept telling myself, this isn't your world, Ayesha. Stay out of it. Don't get involved. But how could I, when everything I knew was unraveling around me? I tried calling Zara. I can't do this alone, I whispered over the phone, voice trembling. I don't know who to trust. Look, Zara said firmly. You need to confront this head on. Kamran's not just some distant boss anymore. He's dragging you into something bigger. You have to be strong. I wanted to be strong, but inside, I felt weak, lost. The next day at work, I barely kept it together. Every glance felt loaded, every whisper like a dagger. I saw the lawyers again, watching me closely. I wanted to ask them what they meant by unstable, but their cold silence was worse than any answer. During lunch, I wandered into the conference room where Kamran's meetings usually happened. The room smelled faintly of his cologne, sharp and woodsy. It was almost like he was still there, watching. I pulled out the letter and finally read it. To Ayesha, if you're reading this, then I'm no longer here. I trust you more than anyone to handle what comes next. There's more at stake than money or business. You must be careful, some truths are better left hidden. But you deserve to know the whole story, okay? My hands shook as I folded the letter back. What truths? What story? That night, I lay awake, battling a storm inside me. I wanted to confront Kamran, demanding answers, but he was unconscious in a hospital bed, slipping further away from me and from reality. I felt like I was screaming into a void. Was I overreacting? Paranoia creeping in because I was out of my depth? But then, doubts gave way to fear. What if the woman in the photo was part of something dangerous? What if the project hidden in those files was more than just business, maybe something illegal or deadly? And what if Kamran's collapse wasn't an accident? I couldn't trust my own instincts anymore. One night, I sat at my kitchen table, clutching the photo on my phone, replaying every moment I'd seen Kamran in the last few weeks. I remembered the way he avoided my gaze, how his smile sometimes faltered, and those long pauses when I asked simple questions. I whispered to the empty room, "Who are you, Kamran? What have you gotten me into?" My phone buzzed. A message. From the same unknown number. Stop digging. Walk away before it's too late. My breath caught. Was this a warning or a threat? I tacked back, trembling. Who is this? Why are you doing this? No reply. The silence was deafening. I looked around my small apartment. Once my safe haven, it now felt like a cage. Every creak of the floorboards, every flicker of the lights made me jump. I was alone in this, but not really. Someone was watching. Someone didn't want me to find out the truth. I thought of Kamran's words in the letter. You must be careful. I hadn't understood before. Now, I did. Careful. Because if I pushed too hard, I might lose everything. I debated telling Zara everything, show her the letter, the photo, the emails. But how could I explain the fear gnawing at me? How do you explain suspicion and danger when everything looks normal on the surface? So I kept my secret buried deep inside, a heavy weight I carried alone. Each day, I fought the urge to confront Kamran's people, to demand the truth. But the fear of what I might uncover held me back. Sometimes I caught myself staring at the mirror, whispering, who am I in all of this? Just an assistant or something more? The line between reality and paranoia blurred. Every sound, Every shadow felt like a threat. I was losing myself in the dark web of secrets Kamran left behind. And through it all, I kept coming back to that photo. Who was she? Why did Kamran trust me on not her? Was I a pawn in someone else's game? I didn't have the answers. But one thing was clear. I couldn't run from this knot anymore. I thought I had reached the bottom, that the tangled mess of secrets and suspicions was as dark as it could get. But I was wrong. So very wrong. The next day, I made a decision I would soon regret. I had to know more. I needed answers, even if it meant crossing a line I wasn't ready to face. I decided to follow one of Kamran's closest Rahim. He was a quiet man, always hovering in the background during meetings, loyal to Kamran in ways I didn't fully understand. He had the kind of presence that made people nervous just by looking at him. I saw him leave the office in the late afternoon, heading toward a part of the city I rarely visited, the old industrial district, full of crumbling warehouses and flickering streetlights. My heart pounded as I kept a safe distance behind him. The streets grew darker, emptier. My breath caught when Rahim entered an unmarked building, the kind of place you wouldn't think had anything to do with a prestigious CEO. I waited outside, counting every second. After about 15 minutes, I saw Rahim come out, but he wasn't alone. A woman stepped beside him, tall, striking, with cold eyes that seemed to pierce right through me. It was her. The woman from the photo. My mind reeled. How could she be here? Why was Rahim meeting with her in secret? I wanted to run, to forget everything. But curiosity rooted me in place. Then I heard them speak, their voices low but urgent. "She's getting too close," the woman said, her voice sharp and dangerous. Rahim's eyes darted nervously. "I know. But what else can we do? The CEO's condition is worsening, and if she finds out about the project..." He didn't finish, but the words hit me like a slap. The project. The secret. They were scared of me. Scared I'd uncover something that would ruin them all. Suddenly, Rahim glanced my way. Our eyes met for a split second. My heart froze. I ducked behind a pillar, holding my breath. When they left, I was shaking not just from fear, but from something deeper. I realized I was in the middle of a dangerous game. One I didn't fully understand, but couldn't escape. That night, I received another anonymous message. "Stop now, or you'll regret it." But this time, something inside me snapped. No more hiding. No more silence. I had to confront Kamran's trusted circle. I had to find the truth. The next morning, I arrived at the office early, steeling myself. I found Rahim in his usual spot near the elevators. "Rahim," I said, voice firmer than I felt. "We need to talk." His eyes narrowed, suspicion flashing. "Ayesha, be careful. This isn't your fight." "Maybe not," I said, "but it's my life now." He sighed, and for a moment, I thought he might tell me everything. But then his expression hardened. "There are things you don't understand, things you can't change." Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then looked back, eyes dark. "I'm warning you. Stop digging. Or else." I swallowed the lump in my throat but held my ground. That evening I went to visit Kamran in the hospital. He was awake, but weak, eyes filled with pain and regret. I handed him the letter I had found hidden in his office. "Why me?" I asked softly. "Why leave everything to me?" He looked away, voice barely a whisper. "Because you're the only one I trust, the only one who can fix what I broke." Before I could ask more, his eyes fluttered shut. The machines beeped steadily. I sat there, holding his hand, feeling the weight of his words. Fix what he broke. The project. The secrets. The lies. I realized then that this was bigger than money or power. It was about redemption and survival. The tension inside me had been building like a storm, and finally, it was time to let it all out. I knew I had to confront Rahim, the man who seemed to be at the center of everything. The secrets, the warnings, the threats. I couldn't keep pretending that silence would protect me. It was late evening when I found him in the office, alone, going over papers. His eyes flicked up when I entered, surprise quickly masked by a cold, unreadable expression. "Rahim," I said, voice steady but fierce. "I'm done hiding. Tell me everything." He stood slowly, his face shadowed in the dim light. "You don't know what you're asking," he said quietly. "There are things in motion you can't stop." "Try me," I challenged. He sighed, rubbing his temple like he carried a heavy burden. Kamran, he wasn't just a CEO. He was part of something bigger, a secret project that could change everything for better or worse. Powerful people want it buried. My breath caught. And the woman? The meetings? The threats? Rahim's jaw tightened. "She's part of the same group. Not your enemy, but dangerous all the same. Why trust me with the will? Why me? Because Kamran believed you had the strength to protect it. And because he was afraid the wrong people would take control." I looked away, overwhelmed. "And now?" "Now. You have to decide. Run or fight." Before I could answer, the office door slammed open. Kamran's assistant Zara stormed in, her face pale but determined. "I know everything," she said. "The lies, the betrayals, and I'm not letting them win." Rahim's eyes widened, then narrowed. "You were never supposed to know." Zara stepped forward, voice steady. "You think I'd stand by while Kamran was left to rot? No. I'm here to help Ayesha. We can take them down together." A cold smile crept across Rahim's face. "You don't understand what you're dealing with. This goes far beyond any of you." Suddenly, the room plunged into darkness. The emergency lights flickered on, casting eerie shadows. A loud crash echoed from the hallway. "Get down!" Zara shouted, pulling me behind a desk. Footsteps approached heavy, deliberate. I felt the weight of the moment crashing down fear, adrenaline, the desperate need to survive. And in that instant, everything changed. The footsteps faded into the distance, and the emergency lights steadied. We stayed frozen for a moment longer, hearts pounding, breaths shallow. "When it was safe," Zara whispered. "They're gone for now." I leaned back, the adrenaline draining away, leaving exhaustion and a hollow ache. Everything had shifted. I was no longer just Kamran's assistant. He was a part of a dangerous secret that threatened to swallow me whole. Over the following days, Zara and I worked quietly, gathering evidence, connecting dots, trying to expose the truth hidden behind Kamran's collapse and the mysterious project. Rahim vanished. No one knew where he went, and I wasn't eager to find out. Kamran's condition remained critical, his eyes flickering between consciousness and oblivion. But I felt a strange resolve growing inside me, a determination not just to survive this, but to take control of my own story. One evening, sitting alone in the quiet of my apartment, I opened Kamran's letter again. "You must be careful, some truths are better left hidden." I realize now what he meant. Some truths carry a price. But running from them wasn't an option anymore. The company board was shaken. Rumors of scandal leaked out, but thanks to Zara's efforts, we managed to steer the narrative, protecting the honest parts of Kamran's legacy while exposing the corruption. I stepped into a new role not by choice, but necessity. The weight of the will, the secrets, the betrayals they had shaped me into someone stronger, someone who refused to be a victim. Yet, even as I moved forward, a shadow lingered. One night, as I locked up the office, my phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. "You've won this round. But the game isn't over." I stared at the screen, heart pounding, a mixture of fear and resolve swirling inside me. Sometimes, the people we think we know are nothing but masks. And sometimes, the real battle is only just beginning. As I put my phone down, I knew one thing for certain. I wasn't going anywhere. Not now. Not ever.